I want to turn and talk about something else. And I just think, I think about political issues all the time. But I was thinking about the idea, this is about coronavirus and really what it brings out among people, as any crisis does. Every time individuals or a society face a crisis, face a challenge, face something frightening, you have people who want to run and hide and duck and just make it go away. You have people who will stand up and fight. You have people who will just be sheep and wait to be told what to do. And you also see that in response to this kind of very serious challenge of coronavirus, it is a very serious challenge, you have people who will just be easily duped by headlines, easily worked into a fearful lather, easily, therefore, manipulable by anyone once you're in that place of fear. You also discover in examining how people respond to a crisis what their real agenda is. You discover what their real agenda is. So here we are near the end of April, and we've had this coronavirus crisis going on. Depends when you call the starting date. We had January 31st was the date that President Trump cut off travel to America from China in response to the virus. But you can tell so much about people by how they choose to respond to this crisis. I will start with one example. The left goes in this country, the Democrat left in this country always has an agenda to increase and collectivize federal power in Washington, to increase taxes, increase the amount of money Washington takes out of the pockets and bank accounts of the American people, always has the agenda of pushing more and more and more control over individuals. The left does not really believe, today's left does not really believe in the fundamental idea of America, which is a nation committed to individual liberty and the right of the individual to live in freedom, to prosper, to exercise the rights guaranteed to him or her. They see their future, the left sees their future as one benefited by people becoming weaker, federal government becoming stronger, government controlling more and more of your life. And the idea that people stand up for their freedom drives the left nuts. And let me give you some examples of the way the left has responded to this coronavirus crisis. You had, for example, in the Market Watch publication, you had Appropriations Committee member, House Appropriations Committee member Tim Ryan writing about the idea that in response to coronavirus, we came up with a plan to fire up the economy by introducing the Emergency Money for the People Act, providing almost every American with $2,000 a month until employment levels reach pre-coronavirus levels. Every individual age 16 or older. And I'm going to tell you, folks, the left has always liked the idea of making Americans more and more dependent on government. It weakens people when they become more and more dependent on government. It weakens their ability to function, to be self-reliant, to think for themselves. So you had this guy, again, Tim Ryan, Democrat of Ohio, talking about how exciting this is, putting out numbers and levels and saying, until everything's back, we're just going to send money to the state. And then you have Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. I hope she's still not Speaker of the House in 2021. I hope the Republicans win back the House. But she actually came out with her very, very straightforward argument. We need to begin to talk about a minimum guaranteed income. This coronavirus has raised issues in America, so we better turn to and really take seriously. She's saying this is now really worthy of our attention. The idea of a minimum guaranteed income. There couldn't be a more socialist idea. The idea that simply because you exist, the state sends you money every month, every week, every year, whatever it is. The state sends you money because you, therefore, will become dependent upon a ward of the state. That is what will happen to you. That is what happens when you tell people you get money from the government for doing nothing. This used to be something the radical left would propose in this country, and the Democrat Party trying to portray itself as more moderate and say, oh no, we're the Democrats, we're not socialists, just those crazies over there, Bernie Sanders. We're not socialists. They are. So this is now Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House, saying we're going to get serious about this idea of a minimum guaranteed income. And then you turn to Bernie Sanders, who has been blathering away about the idea that we would have in this country handled the coronavirus crisis better if we had socialized medicine. So he, of socialized medicine, just committed to that idea for decades, always looking for a way, instead of talking about things like how we can help, first of all, ever acknowledging that the vast majority of people who contract coronavirus, who contract COVID-19, recover. 98% of the people recover. 80% of the people experience no symptoms. This is not the crisis the left wishes it were. So Bernie Sanders, though, never on the page of trying to help America, never on the page of saying, look, we're doing pretty well. We've actually gotten the hospitals mostly supplied with what they need. We have a very promising set of examples to point to that show that hydroxychloroquine is actually helping people. Doctors in this country claiming that, even though the NIH tried to put a kibosh on that. You never hear him say, look at the great work of these doctors and nurses and how America's coming through this, and we have flattened the curve. All this man can think about is another way to push his socialized medicine agenda, not helping the American people. I'll tell you something else. Talk about this crisis, as many crises do, help Americans see the true colors of the political parties, see the true colors of the individuals they elected. Two other examples. In this crisis, the left that lives around the idea of identity politics, the source of Democrat thinking on every issue is there some way we can tie this issue to race, ethnicity, national origin? Can we create another victim group in America that we can identify, and then we can quickly sell them the idea that you're a victim and the only way you can survive is if you have the Democrat Party in charge sending you universal basic income or some other amount of money every month. So on other ways of the true colors of the Democrat Party being shown in this crisis, we mentioned her before, a Michigan Democrat, a member of the state legislature in Michigan. She, a woman, contracted coronavirus, COVID-19. She was very grateful that her doctor prescribed, and she followed the prescription, hydroxychloroquine. She was so happy she recovered from COVID-19 that she actually thanked President Trump, thanked hydroxychloroquine, thanked her doctors for doing that, for prescribing it. So she recovered. She's thrilled to be alive and healthy. She's a very pretty Black woman, as I say, a Democrat member of the Michigan legislature. She is facing censure by her own political party because she said something nice about Donald Trump. Because she said, hey, I'm grateful that Donald Trump brought up hydroxychloroquine. In fact, I'm pretty sure she went to the White House and to say thanks, to say this is a great thing, and I'm so grateful to be healthy. The Democrats could not stand the idea. They couldn't be grateful that she was better, couldn't be grateful she recovered, couldn't be grateful that she was one example of showing that hydroxychloroquine can help people, could not be grateful for any of that. Instead, are moving to censure her, which is what you do when you're a political party, to punish someone for wrongdoing. To punish someone because she said, wow, actually, I'm better. I'm grateful for hydroxychloroquine. I'm grateful President Trump mentioned this. So she's, and in fact, that extremely nasty governor of Michigan, who's a Democrat, has weighed in to pile on this woman. How dare you? And let me get back to a point I was making at the beginning of the show. We have to we get so caught up in discussions of politics and competing political values and competing policies that we don't talk often enough. I mean, I try to, but I don't do it often enough to talk about the idea that the concept of truth exists. Truth exists. The doctors, Daniel Erickson and Dr. Masahi, who did the video that YouTube has now pulled down, that from their medical facility in Kern County, California, who said, hey, we looked at data. We can tell you facts. What YouTube is saying to them is, don't tell us facts. You aren't allowed to tell facts that are inconsistent with what we decide should be the public opinion. So you can't talk. You may be well-educated, experienced, knowledgeable doctors, but you can't talk because your view disagrees with ours. So you have to shut up, and we have the power, so we're taking your video down. Same with this lady. She just spoke truth. Truth offends the Democrat Party. They don't want people speaking truth. They don't want people telling America, hey, hydroxychloroquine actually worked for me. Not saying it works for everyone. I'm just telling my life story, says this woman. No, she's done. I mean, she is being obliterated by the Democrat Party in Michigan. Similarly, we haven't even mentioned this story, but there was a Democrat lawmaker from the state of Georgia. He's a Georgia state rep, a black Georgia state rep named Vernon Jones. Vernon Jones had the audacity to tweet on Tuesday that he was endorsing President Trump. This is last week, endorsing President Trump. And he actually said in his tweet, in response to people asking him, why would you, a black Democrat elected official in Georgia, endorse President Trump? And he said in response, the Democrat Party, they've used and abused folks in my community for far too long, taking our votes for granted. Black Americans are waking up. An uprising is near. And he says, I've seen more Democrats attack me for my decision to endorse real Donald Trump than even ask me why. And, in this time of just, I know everything seems political in our country, and this coronavirus thing, it's a horrible state of affairs that we have a crisis facing our country. We have people, regardless of skin color, race, ethnicity, any other identifying characteristic, people suffering from this virus. But what you see in the American left is the relentless determination to try to destroy the president, try to perpetuate the shutdown, to hurt the economy, to hurt the president, and then attack people who dare point out these things. That's what happened with Diamond and Silk. These two black conservative women who've been Trump supporters since 2016, they dared to voice the idea that the way the left and the media are responding to the coronavirus, the way they're responding in wanting to perpetuate the shutdown, wanting to keep everything shut down, hurt the economy, that everything the left is doing in response to the virus is designed to hurt President Trump. Now, I got to tell you, folks, I think that what I just said is about as common sense as 2 + 2 is 4. That's it. Everyone can see it. Everyone who pays attention to politics can see the left in this country, the Democrat Party and the media are exploiting this crisis to hurt President Trump's reelection chances. That is as one of my best friends at law school used to say, she had very funny and many great expressions. One of them was, that is just a PGO. PGO meaning a pointed glimpse into the obvious. It is obvious to every American paying attention that the Democrats think they have their latest kill shot to take out President Trump. They couldn't take him out through the Russia collusion hoax. They couldn't take him out through the impeachment Ukrainian hoax. They couldn't take him out with their endless other efforts about taxes and the emoluments clause and, the stripper, all those stories. They have been looking, the Democrat Party has been looking since the moment President Trump won the presidency for a way to destroy him. And their treatment of the coronavirus crisis is just their latest way they are thinking they can possibly destroy the Trump presidency. And for saying that in America, so, I guess Diamond and Silk don't have at least any more affiliation with Fox. They are famous enough. I guess they'd probably be somewhere else, but they are being shut down for speaking truth, as were the doctors who tried to speak out in Kern County, California. And I want to say one more thing about those doctors and YouTube taking down that video. Those doctors, in addition to what I said earlier, they didn't talk politics, they didn't point fingers. They even said, you could understand the reaction Dr. Fauci had when we first became aware of this virus. You can understand, my gosh, it's scary. It's coming from Wuhan, probably the bioweapons lab. We don't know what they did with it. We don't know a lot of how about how I'll behave. So we went into massive defensive mode. These two doctors, were willing to say that. Erickson and Masahi were willing to say in their video, yeah, that was understandable at the beginning. But here are the facts now. We just want to tell facts. What they were punished for is speaking truth. Why the video was taken down is because they're speaking truth not approved by today's Ministry of Truth, which is YouTube, Google, and all those kind of sources. They will decide what is true, and then they will label anything they don't like, has nothing to do with truth or not truth. They label anything they don't like as inconsistent with their community standards. That's what they put on that video by these two doctors. I would actually guess, this is the thing I wanted to add, I think enough people saw, you can still see a clip of that video from my show yesterday. If you watched my show yesterday, and I was looking back at this morning trying to find that where it started, at about the 11-minute mark, you can watch a portion of that video, and I encourage you to do that if you didn't see it. But I think enough Americans saw it, and I think the determination of YouTube to take it down. There's no, again, no foul language, no accusations, no wild-eyed statements. They basically were saying the shelter in place is actually not only a good idea, is not only a bad idea, but, in terms we didn't need to do this, but actually is potentially harming Americans in a variety of ways. And they're very factual, data point, data point, data point. But what YouTube is saying is you can't tell truth that we don't approve of. Today's Ministry of Truth, I'm telling you.